Clownski up above, looking to see if they can hold it. This is a perfect zone if it ends up pulling back to the mountains, which it sort of did, so could be a huge opportunity to hold on. 104 above, but now shots are going to be connected through. The issue is for the players down below, you have to plan, even if it doesn't pull towards the mountain, if it's possible that it can pull towards the mountain, you have to be prepared on how you're actually going to rotate that, whether it be mist form, dashes, anything conserved for these more difficult rotates. As Cammy, Chari, and iDrop now, great elevation change, getting closer in.
But not many shields there for Cammy. They're going to need a little bit more to work with. So many teams, though, that are getting trapped inside of these lower layers as the zone just continues pulling up this mountain face, kind of handling the dirty work for the lobby. Savage and Chap, they've lost reason along the way. iDrop, no shield. Harry, no shield. And Cammy, incredibly low. But they're just going to have to go for the fight. Even with being above on the surge damage threshold, they need a refresh more than anything right now. And iDrop, he's not gonna get a chance. He's gonna be collected along the way here. And Cammy trying to see if he can resync now with Airy. They're gonna use their last dash sprite to refresh, but they are stuck in the lower layers, and there is no way that they're going to get out anytime soon here. Savage and Chap doing what they can to try and stay on an uncontested layer, but a lot of traffic flow surrounding them.
A lot of placement points to be earned in these final moments of the end game, but Cammy is going to be eliminated. Chap and Savage continuing as a duo to stay ahead of the zone. A good amount of materials. They cannot fall down into the hands of a full trio right now as Neb's trying to take angles where they can find them, as the zone is going to pull back.
But Neb's geared up pink. They're just taking gear. They're shooting at everybody's toes. Queasy in the mist form. He's just flying around, hoping that nobody spots out the fact that he doesn't have any builds left to his name. He is isolated, playing on that backside. Chap relying on this Memphis grenade to do what he can for his HP bar, but dashing every which way. Still hasn't been picked apart. Waiting to see if he can find an opportunity for a possible refresh, a little bit of siphon, anything. And Queasy, same exact mentality. This is feast or famine now in the low ground, and Queasy, he's doing everything to build up just one more placement, but he might get stuck, he might get caught. Can he break through every single pre-existing build? And finally, he's too exposed. A trio in the lower layer is gonna take care of him. And now Savage stuck in this midway position.
Meanwhile, Clownski and his trio up and above, the perfect zone for them to not be contested a single time on height, as it keeps just going back and forth on the mountain. Devastating rotation for the players down below, but a miracle for the trio in the clouds. Issue is they are running a bit low on mats, unable to find as many refreshes, but Nebs, 3 HP, 8 actually in a dream. Hero trying to build above. You cannot get left behind when the zone continues to elevate. But I was talking about it, the high ground retake, it might be coming through, but it seems to be a 1v3 almost, as it's still looking pretty clear.
Boise has so many chug jugs prepared to play this heal off. Savage just trying to do what he can to stay alive. Has angle builds. Big shot though for Savage, gonna connect. That's the refresh he needs, but he can't get to it. He can't finish for the elimination. He never gets that siphon. Werix now fully dropped as the mountain face starts to fall off here following the zone. Clownski still staying alive, staying ahead, breaking down now, trying to see who these last remaining players are in these lower layers. Scary Sean, Werix, can they make it? But Gabig's gonna be the last one to drop to the bottom floor here, and he finds Scary Sean. The connection has been found, and that is everything for our first lobby winners.
What a tough zone to kick off the day, but in the end, it was Clownways and Gabix that were able to hold on to that height when it mattered the most. Down below, all of the players fighting for their life to just stay inside of the zone, but once they closed it out, they were able to secure their spot in the major finals. Congratulations to Clownways and Gabix for playing it by the book and taking height when it mattered the most.
They were really just one of the first teams, too, to actually commit fully towards height. They had a really good read on how these zone pools were just going to work in their favor. And Takada, it's not an easy job necessarily to keep a firm grasp over the high ground, but when you get the job done in this way, Clownski, Waze, Gabex, we will see you in the Major 3 Grand Finals. But for right now, Frankie, Levin, Minnie, what do you got for us?
Thank you very much, guys. That zone was so punishing. I was thinking, which one would you hate more, the water zone or the mountain? And after watching that, I think you've got to go with mountain on this one, Levin. How amazing was it that Gabix's trio were able to hold onto that high ground so successfully?
Well, I mean, I think the zone's part of why, right? It was the easiest sort of situation for them. When the zone is that difficult, when it is that difficult, though, when you have teams and it's pulling back through where it just came from as well, on the mountain, up and down, people investing so much, they are allowed to save so many mats more than what they typically would have. So really, really nice game from them. They did well to take height in the first place, right? So credit to them, but hey, I mean, it's going to be good to see them in the finals. I'll be happy with that one, Minnie.
Yeah, super excited to see them in finals. I think it's a little bit of a surprise. I think we would have expected a little bit of a different team upon height in our very first game. But yeah, very, very treacherous zone for all those down below. But as you mentioned, Levin, it is very, very nice when the zone, I think it was zone 11, zone 10, and even 12, I think, was just pulling all over their pre-existing builds. So they didn't have to waste all those materials. You could sort of see it pulling back. And if you do establish that high ground really early on in these mountainous zones, you often do find a lot of success. So ultimately, it is about who can do that first. And these guys just put themselves in the perfect position. A little bit of a wobble, I guess, because one of them, it was Gabix actually that lost a lot of HP, but they were able to sort of dispatch of that solo high ground take. But ultimately, pretty straightforward stuff from them.
Yeah, that's, you know, regardless of the season, the meta, whatever, like we see wins like that on FNCS all the time, right? Mountain zones like that where you're the early height team and you can just hold it from there on out.
Well, it will be the only game that we see Waze, Gabix and Clownski playing today because they have booked their spot in the Major 3 finals next weekend with that golden ticket victory royale. But after the break, we'll be discussing the rest of the lobby. See you in a bit. Welcome back to FNCS. It's Group 3 of Major 3, and we had quite the end game in game number 1, but well done to Clownski and his trio for making it to the Major 3 finals next weekend. But how did the rest of the lobby fare, guys? I think we should talk about Cammy's trio first of all, and how we felt about their performance. It looked like it was a promising one. They got to the end game, but the lower ground was a bit of a tricky situation for these guys, Mini Minor.
Yeah, a little bit tough for them. I think iDrop it was that got a little bit split here and ended up going down. I talked about at the beginning of the show, you know, this sort of chemistry thing where they're speaking different languages, and it's like, I'm not too sure if they've quite understood that yet. I mean, Chari and Cammy were just together, and it kind of seemed like they were just playing as a duo, and sort of iDrop was down there as a solo. Not their ideal performance, but I mean, they can be consistent, Levin, so it's not too much of a problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about them. I want to give teams some grace on that first game, especially with how those zones pulled. You know, zones like that especially are the ones where like pre-planning becomes, you know, the most important skill, right, in terms of your ability to find success in those. And that's something we typically would attribute to that trio, so hopefully we see them do a bit better next time around.
A trio that we definitely saw making it almost to the bitter end was Pink, Nebs and Kiro as a trio, pretty much. You can see they're in 5th position on the standings. 11, it's good to see these guys looking on form.
Yeah, and they, I think, were a great example of great pre-planning, right? You saw their timings were always really good throughout this endgame, where they weren't rotating with the lobby a lot of the time. They were making sure to invest a bit more materials just to give themselves some time to find the refreshes. You see how they're already in that box when that player jumps in, right? All together, the synergy was on point. And I actually didn't see how they went down there, so I'm actually curious to see. I'm sure we'll see it in the highlights, see what ended up happening to them. But I thought it was a well-played game for them. Yeah, tough one. Tough situation there when you're climbing up the mountain, trying to squeeze through those awkward cracks, but all in all, I thought it was a solid game, Minnie.
Yeah, really great performance. I think it's, you know, a great sign of a great leadership in terms of an IGL when all the players are all together like they are. They're all finding refreshes together, almost hit to hit there in that end game. So sign of a really well sort of organized and structured team. And even at the end there, Kiro getting a few extra placements can be so beneficial for them.
It was interesting seeing the queasy Swizzy mustache approach to that punishing mountain zone as well, Levin.
Yeah, these guys, look, top team, of course, not the greatest start, but they had some ideas. And I think ultimately this is the beauty of Fortnite. Sometimes you have a great idea, it doesn't quite work. The zone's pulling across the mountain, and they actually decide, hey, we're going to take the tunnel, right? This is something we see top teams do. It's an idea that we're familiar with. The problem is when you take the tunnel, if it doesn't pull your way, you're going to have to get out somehow, and they're going to try go through the porta potties here, and as they're shanking zone to try and get out, they end up just going down to Storm. It's quite unfortunate. It's, again, a great idea, Mini, but unlucky roll of the dice with the zone.
Yeah, and that's what makes a player like Queasy and IGL just so prominent in the scene, because he likes to take risks like that, come up with new interesting strategies that people don't understand. I think there was a bit of a problem for them because only one person can use that porta potty at a time. They couldn't all jump in it at the same time, so they had to wait inside that storm and try and tank it, try and get that timing right with the med kit. Didn't work out here in game number 1, but if there's any team that I'm concerned about after a less than ideal game 1, these guys are probably at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is, like, if it does work out, imagine zone pulls across the mountain, they go through the tunnel, they save all those mats, and then they win the game. We're all sat here going, Queasy, go IGL, oh my God, Giga Brain, wow, you know? So it happens sometimes, unfortunate there.
Well, it does mean we get to see the Giga Brain playing at least another game tonight, and we also get to see Mr. Savage in the top 10, Mini Minor.
Yeah, nice start from them. I know Mr. Savage there was sort of clutching up at the end. It was a little bit of a duo clutch from both of Chap and Savage, but I was really impressed with how they were sort of fragging out in these layers. Mr. Savage in particular just doing so much damage, and I just love watching Savage, the way that he edits, the way that he moves around in these end games, Levin. Such a pleasure to watch, and he just managed to stick on for so long there. Quite unfortunate, actually. It was this knock right here, which I was really impressed with. Unfortunate to go down in the end, because that would have been a huge refresh for him.
Well,
honestly, I agree. Sorry, yeah, no, spot on, mate, honestly.
Spot on. 200 IQ analysis at least. We're going to head to game number 2 now, so let's head back to Taco and Takata for some 1,000 IQ casting.
Thank you. I don't know if we're Mr. Savage. We're missing a bit of IQ, but after after that game one, with how that storm played out, that zone, I'm excited to see how the rest of them pan out. I mean, 5 matches to be played out. It's kind of insane how quickly they go. And the leaderboard is not really what I would have expected after a game one. But you know, Taco, anything can happen in the first match of the day. So we'll see how it continues to play forward.
Yeah, 5 lobby format. Now's not the time to be getting too pressed over whether or not your favorite team got a strong start. While it's great to start off on the right foot, you never know what can happen coming up next in game 2.
So in terms of the map, Gabix, Waze, and Clown, we're kind of on the south split by splitting pins. I'm not really quite sure who is going to end up taking that spot, if anyone. But there's still quite a few contested trios on the map. I know in terms of Pump Power, Mongrel did end up getting the upper end of Pump Power off the spawn, but later on they did have some troubles in that late mid to end game. Still got 4 matches to fix it up, but it looks like
hey,
uncontested Canyon.
Part of the switch up, I mean, off the mini-map drop, it looked as if 2 teams had actually moved in to that southern section of the map that Gabix, Waze, and Clown just won from. And that's gonna leave things a little bit more opened up for some of these other teams. I can't fault it though. If you don't win the first lobby of the off spawn, sometimes it's just better to take your odds elsewhere. And Mongrel, Keto, Hydro, just waiting to see whether or not they get into things against JoshBot's team. But this contest at Pump Power, it could really shift either direction, Takata.
Yeah, we saw how quickly the third party did kind of come into Pump Power though, so gotta be ready as both trios are kind of getting their own section of the drop. But Sato, on the other hand, right into the action, taking down a full trio right off the bat.
And this is what a lot of teams would definitely want to do if they're looking to have like full control of a hot drop here at Outpost. Sato and Karma, this is a very easy cleanup with their teammate, and 3 eliminations that early on. Takata having the luxury of now just getting to focus exclusively on your loot path and early rotates, maybe even catch some of these other teams off guard. And jump in to be the third-party issue.
Back on over to Supernova Academy. In the last match, this was a prime location for players rotating through. So for the trio that ends up, well, trios that end up dropping here, it's another situation if you don't want to take too long. So far, I don't see any eliminations, but there definitely has been some tags.
Just not enough for everyone. Eventually, something is going to have to pop off when you have that many teams surrounding each other at Supernova Academy, but a little bit more freedom to move around. Savage, Chap, Reason, Uncon still at Resistance Base. And we saw Savage doing what he could in the last lobby, dealing with that mountain zone, but I like the fact that Pump Power now, Mongrel's team, trying to come to a decisive outcome here. Getting scrappy. Keto knows club is low, but Mongrel lost his shield, so they don't want to jump in just yet. So JoshBot, Shixi, they're going to be able to provide a little bit of backup here now.
Mini-map, you see another 2 players roaming on in. Soon to be a full trio. This is where you have to have someone always kind of looking in their surroundings. I mean, the whole trio should be constantly aware of if that third party's getting close, especially if the fight staggers longer. But Kaido knows one of his opponents is cracked. Just one good shot could be enough for the knock, but they end up getting 3-2-1. Kaido gets knocked down. Mongrel now left as a duo, forced to disengage with 0 mats to his name. He's got to hope they aren't too quick.
This is easily worst case scenario now for Hydro and Mongrel. Not only are they sent packing in 2 separate directions, but Hydro, he's not even out of the action. He might still get caught up here in the crossfire of this third-party intervention. Scary Sean, Voldy forward, taking up a position on the high ground, and we've already scouted at least 1 surge base off in the distance. But that's the least of their worries for right now. They're still trying to see whether or not they can do something about the trio that's still underneath them.
The trio underneath them is, they've already farmed up all the materials they could. No spare heals, so they're just kind of waiting for the trio outside. If they want to play aggressive, they can go for it, but seems like nothing more is going to happen from this brawl.
Still leaves Mongrel in such an awkward position. Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache, very familiar sights. Watching them, see if they can establish at least one elimination or two. Mappy continuing to get tagged up here, but Mustache also receiving a few counter blows there. Has to be a bit of a cautious approach. That Rift Island might just be the focal point for both of these teams, though. And so, really just want to see whether or not Queasy decides to commit to making a play for it. It certainly seems like they're trying to set up to play defense there.
Yeah, I mean, with the medallion and the mythic AR, it's definitely worth it to take those fights. As now, and in the Storm fight, seems like another potential 3-2-1 third party from Noms and his trio here, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sometimes you kind of want to wait until the action actually fully begins. A lot of box fights are kind of back and forth, looking for angles, but once that connection hits and once they start fully pushing in, could be the perfect moment to kind of strike as a third party. You don't want to wait too long, though, because you might run out of time.
Everybody definitely feeling a little bit of pressure here now. It is still the early storm tick damage, so something to be too panicked over, but the way that Trix is looking around, it's so obvious. They do not feel comfortable, as if this isn't being pretty much watched. It's almost like when you can tell that somebody's looking at you, but like you don't know who just yet. Finally, Karma gonna open up that wall and immediately be reminded why he needs to just burrow back in with the rest of his team. A lot of shield resources being used from both sides currently, and it's the light heals too that both of these teams seemingly in need of. Noms, Mystic, slowly, and they are slowly but surely continuing to get this wraparound, but neither side really willing to budge. This has been such a huge stalemate, though, and so much material used from both sides. It's kind of just left both of these teams a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, I mean, they got their damage, I guess, but at the same time, was it worth what it costed? I mean, as long as both trios are kind of up and running, depending on how the zones pull, they should be able to make it back.
Good pickups, though, from Nebs. Getting a chance to review a little bit of the kill switch revolver accuracy. Nice chase down there, thanks to the dashes off of the dash sprite, but Nebs and Kiro, they were on a rescue mission. Bring Pink back into this one. 3 revives pulled off in a singular game. That's a pretty clean record. And now that they've got their IDL Pink back, though, that's bound to extend their opportunities here in game 2.
Yeah, I'm wondering what that's coming from being uncontested. Issue is when you're at a drop spot, like they are at the top corner of the map, and the zone does pull kind of almost southwest, it can be a very difficult rotate, causing you to go down a bit. I drop, Cammy, and Hari doing what they can to play it a bit safe while they look for their tags. It's a plus of Shining Spams, the amount of elevation you can actually get in vision, but when there's not a lot of trios rotating through, it kind of limits your options, and I drop spending a good amount of time in zone here.
I drop maybe even surprised that he hasn't actually spotted anybody from that position. Especially because of what you just said, Takata. We saw so many of the zones, even throughout yesterday's action, head south, but first off, got to see what happens with Veno, Vico, and Flixie. They are still all together, but similar to fashion, the first lobby, it looks like they are just hunting down their Surge, constantly getting tangled up in some of these early engagements, and it's not like they're not trying to pick the fight, and for good measures. Veno, that opening elimination now onto Shixie. 2 intact already for this trio, and they still want to see if they can figure out where the last one's at. But if they manage to stay together, Takada, it definitely makes some magic happen.
Yeah, Shixie can't catch a break. I feel like he's been hiding more than looting in these past 2 matches from those off-spawn fights. Kinda rumbles your whole game from the start. Tricks Loki, box, edge zone. You can see kind of the mini-map, those 4 different players just eyeballing them as they're going to be forced to rotate up now. Might be even safer just right along the side of the zone instead of going straight in.
Wow, still haven't found a solid conclusion yet to the action at Pump Power. New teams just keep rolling in, and now it's Akira, Kurama, and Werix up against the likes of Veno, Vico, and Flixie. Both of these teams on kind of opposite ends now in the POI, but Kurama just tunneling overhead, looking down. Maybe thinks that he knows exactly where a couple of members from Veno's team are at, but has no reason to immediately challenge this trio. If they can apply some pressure, sure, they'll go for it, but they also want to make sure that they keep looking back just in case any teams have the intentions of wrapping around for dead side. They don't want to find themselves getting flanked.
Yeah, looking at Kira's loadout too, he had an incredible amount of minis. Looks like they just want to play it safe to maintain their spot on the leaderboard, not risk kind of fighting for Surge. Pink, on the other hand, with a quick elim. Oh, whoa. What happened here? Look at the amount of eliminations this trio already has. 3rd zone. They're getting closer and closer to double digits, and it looks like Mongrel is going to be on the receiving end as Kiro doing what he can to escape. Good news is 6 med kits. Bad news, you even have enough time to pop one. Barely gets it off, and now the hunt begins.
Mongrel's got absolutely nowhere left to run. This is almost like delaying the inevitable. He could play spoiler potentially for Kiro if Kiro's not careful. Needs a bigger tag than what he could be anticipating, but he knows Mongrel just doesn't have any HP. And Kiro, yeah, I like the fact that they're still playing this respectfully. Pink, Nebs, and Kiro are not looking to take any unnecessary risk, and even with Kiro understanding what kind of steep HP advantage he had there, even knowing that it's Mongrel all by himself, he still gives his opponent that respect of I don't want to get too reckless and then get knocked, and then it feels silly because we're having to waste heals that we could have just saved.
All right, 8 eliminations now for the trio. Let's hope that they can chill a little bit, okay? Get your mats up, get your positioning right. Moppy with a quick knock. Looks like they were able to actually fully finish this fight out as Sato. Gonna be a little difficult. Similar situation to what Mongrel is in. Trying to escape as a solo.
Hey, take a look at Stormy right though, up on the mountain range. And he's got Hari, Hydra, Cammy potentially in his sights. So many of our teams, though, from these elevated spots, just not wasting any time, Takada. They're looking for the surge tags as often as possible, just remaining proactive with keeping above that threshold.
The Buell. Dexy and Bitsovsky. Looks like they might be upping or trailing behind Mr. Savage. Trying to figure out based on the minimap where his trio actually is at the moment, but Vico, Veno, Flixie living up to what they always do in constant fights, constant engagements. The last match kind of put their whole game into shambles after one of them ended up getting eliminated. So hopefully this time around they can stay up as a trio.
This is where they flourish, though, is in these close-up and personal engagements, but Veno trying to maybe reconsider whether or not he wants to swerve off so aggressively from the rest of his team. Other trios in the area definitely taking note, sending some shots in, and Veno, Flixie, they're not playing the side-by-side. They trust that Vico can hold his own if necessary, but they don't want to. Why chance it? Let's just play together. Let's just heal back up. They knew that they were having to also absorb a little bit of damage from that third party. And for Akira and Kurama, Werex, this might be the little moment of relief that they were kind of hoping for, because Venom, Vika, Flixie, they're gone.
Yeah, the good news is, too, if they're able to get damage here, the zone is pulling by Supernova on the north side of the map, so they will have the uncongested side as all the trios will be rotating from the south. So as long as they're able to get enough damage onto these trios, they shouldn't have to put too much risk into their match. Merstache Swizzy, though, left as a duo now on the opposite end of the map. Full south, they're going to have to difficult rotate this time around.
That's definitely a tough break. Losing Queasy and Vox, delaying it just long enough. But for Merstache and Swizzy, certainly a duo that could play for the reboot, even though it's late. They might still be able to pull it off. Mappy and Cheatin also facing a casualty there with Trexer, but despite their teammate having been eliminated, Mappy going strong with those 3 eliminations of his own. Still going to keep their surge threshold intact, that's for sure. Give them much more leeway, even if they choose to just commit to playing this game as a duo.
Seen a lot of duos so far, as you'd expect when the level is this high for Group 3. Witzowski now from trailing to being 860 to above. With the amount of materials they have, honestly, they're in quite a good position. But it seems like they're hungry for more. Right into the box with the pre-edits, and it worked out perfectly as they're able to secure a quick knock now. With just one more opponent trying to do what he can to escape in the misform. Just one quick shot could be enough to finish this one.
Quota doing everything they can to try and see if they can slither away, but that's not going to be the case. Vexy, Devule, and Pixovsky will manage to close in, but Scary Sean just tucked away, hidden. The third party also starting to roll up onto their position. Trouble for the Frenchies now. Podesai, X-Squeeze. They don't have Artsfield next to them. They're tackling Stormy Radion, Zarb. But even with the numbers against them, Takada, it's not going to be easy to leave this position unless they probably do just have to fight their way through this. They can still even the score here. They've got a good amount of healing resources. Just a couple of different angles, and they might be able, if Stormy Radion or Zarb get a little bit too greedy with how they choose to push this duo. Podesai and X-Squeeze could definitely turn this around.
Yeah, the good news is, depending on how long they take to rotate, it shouldn't be too tough. They'll have a lot of materials to kind of recycle from the trios that have already rotated along that edge of zone, but they will be looking back, as this trio is going to be aware of, but it seems like right now it is just going to be a waiting game.
One thing I'm definitely noticing is that Stormy Red and Zarb, they didn't have any kind of mobility in their loadouts. So no misforms means that they're going to have to put a pause in that fight with X-Squeeze and Podesai. X-Squeeze and Podesai, since they are the duo, they are just going to trail towards that backside of zone, but a couple shots, not going to be able to connect there onto Radion. They'll take the scenic route now overhead. Podesai still putting a little bit of pressure onto their back tarp, and Zarb, Radion, a little bit confused now what's happening next, but Podesai bites off more than he can chew. He's gonna get knocked. He has to wait now to see if X-Squeeze can make something happen here, but he's shut down. One of our French teams eliminated, but that has alerted the rest of the lobby to exactly where Radion, Stormy Red, and Zarb are rotating through, and since they are the last ones, Veno and Flixie, they don't want to let them through.
Although Podesai got hit with the 1-2, still respect the confidence, committing. They knew they had to go for something there. Meanwhile, Vico and Flixie decided to kind of disengage from that initial fight that we saw previously. Do not want to risk going down once again, and it has caused them to be below, but now they're able to kind of safely secure these tags. And not only that, once again, they end up pulling that 7th zone here. I think what I'd want to do is elevate myself a little more, and then they're going to have all those angles for the trios rotating on in that they can quickly capitalize on.
Despite everything, though, they are under surge. This has been one of our most aggressive teams throughout this secondary match, Sakata. We've seen them constantly trying to force these box fight engagements, but nobody wants to play their game. And so now they're stuck 120 below surge. Like, might catch a break here on Stormy Right's team, but Flixie has been knocked. Veno and Vico, they're going to try to play for the double revive. Nobody's going to press them just because they do already have prime real estate for their positioning, but they need tags and they need it now. Every second they spend healing is a second that they miss out on potentially doing damage to somebody else. They've managed to cut the gap. It's only 67 below now. Literally 1 or 2 shots can confirm it, but nobody has enough HP to continue peeking. It's all down to Vico at this point. Veno only has a handful of seconds left. And Stormy Right's team, they're starting to pull up. They're starting to recognize maybe this is a trio that's actually in a world of trouble here. As Vico, Veno, they don't have a choice. They're going to have to fight now. The threshold has dropped entirely too low. And as a duo even, you need risk for game-winning moments. Veno, he's just sending it up against the likes of Stormy Right. Tackling one side of their wall, Vico on the other, but Veno has been knocked. It's all down to the young fragger Vico.
Whoa.
But even this is the odds too heavily stacked against. Maybe Vico can turn this around. He's looking to play spoiler now, but he's not going to get that chance. He's been brought down. Radeon, Stormy Right, very happy to reap the benefits of those loot llamas coming their way.
I had faith. I'm not going to lie. I saw the vision. But Storm Surge did get the best of them. 2 games down. We'll see if Vico Veno Flixie can get one of their big games here shortly. But another big trio that we have high expectations for. Queasy, Swizzy, Murstache. This game looking quite well so far.
It's crazy, though, when you really think about some of our veteran teams and they can still struggle with staying above the current surge threshold and this competitive meta. Kira, Nebs, Pink, they don't have to worry about that, though. 569 above. The only thing that's worrying them right now is where Reason, Savage, and Chap actually choose to go next. Want to keep a firm overview on those teams that were elevated towards hype, but Chap, Reason, Savage, all they want is front side, and they're gonna get there no problem, but Reason looks like he only has 1 dash left, and that'll be it for his mobility.
Cammy and Pink, both trios now kind of battling for that elevated position, going back and forth. Stormy Right has to be careful of his teammates have been cracked. They have more than enough damage, but the battle for height continues. The 2 towers fighting against each other. As iDrop said, I'm going to take over. Dashes onto his opponents, claims that high ground, and now, depending on where this 9th zone pulls, could be a miracle as they do end up getting a pretty good pull here. Will Pink, Nebs, and Kiro give it up, though.
It's also funny to me the way that iDrop just casually connects there. Ari and Cammy just looking to spray some of these teams underneath them. Pink, Nebs, Kiro, they're waiting for the full distractions to come through before they make their move on a height challenge. And in the low ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Murstache have no idea of the players inside the cone. And Kyrie pulls it off, but it's a short-lived victory as he does finally go down. The moment that they pop out of the cone, Murstache, Swizzy, Queasy, probably a bit of a jump scare there for them.
Yeah,
Still find one elimination, though.
Came into play, good little cover. As the Buell is going to be leading them to their tart. Good use of staying together. Chemistry looking high.
Trying to make a replay refresh in the low ground, though. You don't want to find yourself getting smothered. Kiro, Nebs, Pink, They've been sitting pretty for a hot minute, waiting, letting the lobby kind of thin itself out. Cammy, Hari eyedrop still tarping overhead, and Nebs, he is incredibly hurt. We'll get a little bit of breathing room, though, to use that chug jug, but scattering up, down, and all around. Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache have taken their stab at height, but Merstache, he has lost so much HP for it. Cammy, Hari, eyedrop, they immediately look to Chop, and one more time, they resurface to the high ground.
What a perfect moment to look for the retake. They saw that the zone pulled far. They were holding on from it to the start. It was the perfect moment to strike, but Cammy, Hari, and eyedrop, they were able to hold on. Will they go for a second? Merstache, Queasy, Swizzy going for part two. Will they end up coming out victorious in this end as eyedrop has been knocked? Swizzy gets the elimination. Could be enough to hold on.
That's the real differentiating factor. Merstache was low, but he was never knocked. He was never eliminated. And so now Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache doing what they do best, just suppressing everybody underneath them. Cammy gonna fold to the pressure inside of the lower layers. And from the high ground, Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache stand strong. It doesn't look like anybody's gonna have the opportunity to try and tackle them at height. They still want to stay ahead. They still want to keep tabs, keep a hold on this front side high. Reason, Chap, Savage, though. Gotten a really nice refresh there onto Karama, but they can't keep it up. Axe Force, Nathan, Swizzy, Queasy, Merstache. Their HP is just melting, but CZP, that elimination, that's a lifeline there for Swizzy.
500 mats back into Swizzy's pocket as now once again they have a chance to go back up. Issue is they need to spend a bit of time to heal, and while they're healing, another full trio misform to the sky as the battle continues, and just like that it's been overthrown once again as Nathan is forced to drop down. Axe Force gets knocked down, leaving Nathan as a solo.
High ground has been fully compromised. Chap, Reason, you just got to ball out in these lower layers. Chap going to continue dropping as the zone pulls over the cliff face. Big eliminations, though, for Merstache, just keeping the ball rolling here for his trio. Swizzy also finds another, but Merstache is finally going to be collected. Paul Atreides underneath, hiding out. Nathan not going to get the elimination blow there that he needs, but Paul, he takes down Chap. That's disastrous for Savage and Reason. Swizzy still overhead.
How is he
doesn't
on
have a
high?
whole lot of health, but he has 3 builds to Kata. That might just be enough. He still has the misform too.
This is the difference from Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache. They went for height 4 different times, and in the end, Swizzy is still up above Reason with just 8 HP. How is he going to be able to make this happen? Misform now used. Focus, Swizzy. A couple big shots could be all it takes as Nathan looking for an angle. Reason goes down. It's now a 1 versus 1. Swizzy versus Nathan. Initial shot gets connected, and Swizzy somehow manages to take it home as a solo.
I don't think anybody was ever concerned about whether or not Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstache would lock in for the Major 3 Grand Finals, but Takata, the way they do it every single time of manifesting these high ground takes, understanding when to give it up, and that drop towards the lower layers, letting high ground just contest each other, that was everything for them.
This is why this trio has so much respect. And not only do they know when to take height, but they know how to play defensive after. There was 3 different attempts to take high ground there, and it kept getting overthrown. But when it was, they stayed up, they stayed together, they were able to continue getting eliminations. And in that final 4th attempt, in the last moving zone, with Swizzy being the only one left, he was able to not only get height, fully recover his HP, goes down, doesn't miss a shot, and in the end secures the VR. What a way to close out the second match of the day. Queasy, Merstache, Swizzy qualified for the major finals, and we're headed right back over to the desk to break that one down.
Thank you very much, guys. A victory royale won, plain and simple, by Quizzy, Swizzy, and Quizzy. I always call Queasy and Swizzy Quizzy, and their teammate Merstache. No pressure on these guys whatsoever, Levin.
These guys played it so well. Look, towards the end there, the final moment, Swizzy didn't even have to get the final elim, right? But he put in all the hard work earlier, Minnie. He was really helping them to hold on to height towards the end there. And I mean, we knew it was going to be one of these earlier games, right? I'm pretty sure it's been game 1 or 2 in every major. Maybe someone will correct me on that. But I feel like it's always these early games that get it done, and then in a good fashion as well.
Yeah, slightly different fashion to, I guess, what we'd expect. A little bit more messy, I suppose, than we've seen from Queasy's teams in the past. But I think what can't be taken away from these guys is just how well and how relentless they were at taking height here, just to try and make it happen. Swizzy in particular. I mean, when things are a little bit chaotic and you have someone like Swizzy, you have someone like Mustache by your side, able just to turn the tides on a fight so quickly, especially with that exotic and mythic in hands. I mean, these are the sort of players that you want clutching up, Levin, and that's exactly what they do best. And ultimately, that's what actually won them the game. It was just these individual fights that they were just winning, and so well played.
Yeah, relentless attempt to just make sure that they were continuing to chop down ADM's trio, who was above them. Mustache gets up here. And I mean, look, we knew these guys were going to make it through, so we don't have to sit and act all surprised about it, right? But the one thing I will say is, you know, when we've seen them play height a bunch in previous seasons, a lot of the time it's been earlier height. This was a great example of them being able to bide their time, take it a bit later, which again just shows the dynamism of these three and why they will be a threat next weekend.
Yeah, and I hope now that Swizzy can kick on and keep doing what he does best, because, I mean, we talked about it in Major 1, I think it was Major 1, Mustache just absolutely popping off. Swizzy was very good in that Major as well, but it just shows that these guys can continue to do what they do best all the way through the year.
Well, guys, we need to go to a break because I can't wait to find out who's going to be dropping at Demon's Domain. So let's have a short one, and we'll be back soon. really love to see, boys. I love to see Pink, Nebs, and Kira in the lobby, but I also like to see them with an 8 limbs by the end of the early game mini-minor. An absolutely ridiculous performance by them, and they're looking incredibly consistent right now.
Yeah, really aggressive in the early game, of course, carries them through that end game as well. You can sort of see the surge that they're on, just so much damage at that point, and just gives you that freedom later on in the game for that sort of early game surge investment. We did see a little bit of a reboot earlier on as well, so it wasn't all smooth sailing for them, but for these guys, Levin, this is exactly how we expect them to play, performing well in the end game. Not as good of a game as that first game, but again, if they can just stay consistent, stay inside of these top 10s, they'll no doubt qualify.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Kira's performance in this game, and Kira was popping off even in some of those earlier fights that they had. Some of the angles he was taking, the shots he was hitting. We know he has supreme aim. All three of them do, right? Nebs especially as well, someone we highlight for his top aim. So it's good to see these guys performing individually, all three really well so far, and hopefully that continues on that.
It was also great to see the end game for Chap, Mr. Savage, and Reason. I know Reason was left to try and clutch it in that 1v1v1, but these guys were sticking together as an impressive unit, Levin.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about these guys is they've always had 2 really good games now, what, a 3rd and a 6th. And the great thing about these guys, Mini, is that if you can just get them to the end game, individual brilliance will just carry them through and get them so many points, right? You can rely on all 3 of these guys to give you a big clutch. Mr. Savage did in game 1. Reason had to stay alive, you know, for a bit on them zone here in game 2. Next game, if Chap has to do it, you know he'll do it as well. So all 3 of these guys, just top level players who can just clutch up when needed.
Yeah, any sort of composition of the final 2 here or any solo clutching is just going to do so well. I think just this sort of environment, the low mid ground there, that's exactly where these guys really thrive. Just a bit of a chaos environment for them. And although he wasn't able to get into that 1st or 2nd place for Reason here, they're going to be really happy with that. Another solid performance from them. I think we get to see now how they expect to play, try and play for consistency and try and get over the line by the top 5.
Now, earlier on today, we heard Levin's top 5 feeling the pressure teams, and on that list were 2 of our French trios, Podeside's trio and Akira's trio. If you cast your minds back to Major 1, those 2 were playing together until Podeside decided to replace Akira with Artskill. But now, if you look at number 3, so top of the consistency leaderboard right now, it's Akira, Kurama, and Werex, Levin, and they're playing almost without pressure, it seems.
Yeah, no, handling whatever pressure there might be incredibly well. Kurama is a player I've been a big fan of for quite some time now, and it's for moments like that, right? Big pump shot, you know, point blank, but he's able to connect. I think the big thing with these guys is, again, just the ability to be super aggressive as a trio and make plays happen. Playmaking, I think, is something to attribute to these 3. You see that peak there from Werex, right? You know, again, we're in a top lobby lobby with a lot of really good Fortnite players. But not a lot of players would go for that peak that Werex made there, right? These are the type of things that can just push you over the edge and sneak you into the major final.
And you wouldn't be doing stuff like that if you were feeling a lot of pressure and you were feeling like you're sort of boxed in, you needed to make these sort of smart plays. They're playing with a lot of freedom right now. I think a lot of that comes from their drop spot as well. They've been landing that drop spot for a very long time. They know it well. They're able to get into these end games consistently. So more of the same when it comes to end game, and their early games looking really consistent as well. So I'm expecting to see these guys in the major finals.
A trio we haven't seen make it into the top 10 yet is Vico, Venno, and Flixie. So I'm hoping maybe we'll see more of them in game number 3, because we are ready to get things underway.
I've got great news for you, Frankie, because with the way that Venno, Vico, and Flixie have been playing so far today, if there's one thing I can expect to see in this match, it's them trying to get active with another trio, possibly even more. But one thing is also for sure here, Takada, Demon's Domain actually up for grabs.
Up for grabs, that's true. And I'm thinking who would take it. I would think, you know, on top of my mind, Podeside is the trio that ended up leaving Demon's Domain after, you know, the potential exchange between Quasi, Swizzy, and Merstache. But, you know, time will tell. We'll see who does end up dropping there. On the other hand, they were talking about consistency. Pink's trio, Akira's trio, both looking incredibly consistent. So I'm excited to see if they can keep that up, or maybe if one of them can end up securing that victory royale.
Yeah, ultimately, every single one of these teams is going to be aiming to play for that consistency metric. So now, with Game 3 underway, we'll get to see what happens next.
And my tight end's injured. And he's
Excited to see as well how the action at Pumped Power continues. It's been a tough early game for all the trios in that surrounding area. Even Supernova Academy has also had a lot of difficulties, not only off spawn, but also during their rotations. the bus path coming from the west side. Be able to see who's kind of landing at demons if it is going to be multiple trios.
For Pixovsky, Debule, and Vexy, still remaining uncontested at Shogun's Solitude. But it's those spring positions on the map, Takata. You're always going to be a little bit more isolated at the start. It's all about how you rotate through after the fact. And Hodasai, Art Skill, X Squeeze, home sweet home at Demon's Domain. And it doesn't look like anybody else is trying to land with them there.
They are back in business now.
I cancel that.
Wait a second. Wait, hold on.
There's definitely company. Who am I kidding?
No, I think they're flying over, though. I think they're flying over. So, Demon's Domain should be good. Yeah, they're uncontested now. And look, coming from... Look, I'm not trying to put them down here, but they do have 0 points going into this game. So, hopefully now, back at their drop spot, they can feel comfortable once again and get a big match here to put them back into the running for that consistency leaderboard. But back at Canyon from uncontested last game to now being contested.
Hammy, Kev, Brady. Kind of in a little bit of a chokehold here, and Godoy is actually going to be the one sent running, hiding on the staircase, but Cutoff actually going to be able to turn that one around. Turns out Godoy still had a little bit more firepower to work with and Ratty had expected, but the decisiveness of the fight still very heavily in one direction here in Takata. Hammy's team cleaning things up yet again at Canyon Crossing. It's going to leave Godoy's trio now in that position to decide, do we want to stay contesting this like the teams at Outpost Enclave are also continuing to do?
There's been a lot of success from Sato and his trio at Outpost, and it looks like, once again, another quick 3 eliminations. We've seen, you know, this drop spot get split sometimes, but not this time around. Karma, Sato, and Splick said, we're gonna keep playing aggressive.
And with some of these fights just being ended so quickly, too, that's gonna prevent that opportunity for third-party intervention. Mongrel, Hydra, and Keto have pushed off from Pump Power incredibly early, and it looks like they decided to dabble on into Utopia City, so lots of teams here, Takata, really trying to take chances. It's just, Mongrel's team feels like they can actually handle this fight a little bit better up against Stormy Ride and Radeon, but Czar, close and personal now with Mongrel, not going to get the tag that he needs to apply further pressure. But Stormy Right still being a nuisance just above. Mongrel, Hydra, Keto, just trying to stay tightly knit. They don't want to leave any one member of their party too exposed.
Yeah, and that 5-game format for the group stage, you are going to have to make changes potentially if you're not seeing success. And it looks like Utopia City is the answer that Mongrel and his trio have in mind. Doing a good job, though. Even if you're playing defensive, when you're doing it inside of a building, you can use that time to farm up on materials and continue prepping yourself for if that fight comes to play. On the other hand, Stormy Ride and his trio are going to have to keep looking around. You have Vox sneaking up.
Breaking at least 500. Oh, 2 Oslo soldiers play art? Imagine intercepted right there. That would so be throwing my controller across the room. I'm having a worse game right now. This is horrible. I have a horrible percentage. You good, John?
Yeah, I'm just texting someone.
Oh my god.
point of even blocking if you're not even going to block? Ooh, what is that one? I kind of like that one. That run was kind of. Let's put strong power. Strong power is looking moving nice. Let's go to the right side. Not dealing with the freaking wide receiver trying to block. Bruh, I can't break this. Oh, come on. What the heck? There's no way on Madden's. What the hell just happened? This fucking 3,000-pound, 4-foot freaking tall, fat man just fucking jumped over both of my guys and got an interception. After I somehow fumbled while trying to throw the ball away. This game is just so retarded. Oh! I only hit the ball, not the series. Why does the game sound louder than my mic? This is the new one, right? Yeah. That's the right microphone. Nah, bro, there's no way. Like, what the fuck are we even doing? Alright, okay. For once, Madden's actually on my side. Thank you, Madden. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, it was. Okay.
There's no way you lost that shit. Dobbs never gets injured because, like, honestly, these guys are too tough for their own good. I love it to do that. I love it. They just love to do that. Yeah, lucky. I have an opening almost every time I do man. It's just there's always an opening. Doesn't make fucking sense. Can't even sack the guy either. What are we doing, Philadelphia? You're a good, you're a dominant team. You're a dominant defense and offense, and yet you guys are playing this way. Get it, Joe. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm back.
Welcome back. God, I'm not supposed to do.
Huh?
I'm not supposed to do this game.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know why, but this game, like, specifically, has been the most glitchiest one, for me at least. It's still Madden, no matter what console you're on.
Look at this. Another inaccurate. Dude, I'm at 99 accuracy. Tell me I can overshoot them. What is this game? What is this game? It doesn't feel like a football game. It feels like a freaking NFL. Actual NFL. It doesn't make sense.
What is that throw? Why he not blocked? I'm lucky that's the end of the game because I just went back like freaking 20 yards. I went from 2nd and 7 to 3rd and 27, and it was a freaking running play. How can I lose 20 yards in a running play and I'm just breaking tackles? Just take me down already. Yeah, me too. I didn't get enough points to upgrade my staff. I got Panthers. On Madden 25. I think Madden 25 is kind of a joke. It's kind of a game to just... This game is kind of a copy and paste of 24. Only thing they added new was... The only thing they added new was the hit stick. That's the only thing gameplay-wise that was new. They didn't really make much improvements to the franchise. From 24 to 25, they didn't make much improvements. Same freaking thing. What other mode? Superstar. That's the same. So overall, I would say Madden. This Madden is not very good. One of the worst. One of the. I don't want to say badder. One of the worser. One of the badder ones. I don't know how to say it. Sure, we can play Fortnite.